you're living in your past, and I say live in your future. When you wear a t-shirt, it's a billboard. It states what you believe in and what you want. Because I travel to exotic places that are difficult to get to. Because Iona is difficult.
So, hello everyone, welcome back to our podcast channel. Today we have John. Now, over here, John is an experienced marathon runner. He's 77, but he doesn't look like one, and he doesn't do things that a 77-old person does. From writing books to being recognized by the top managements of the world, be it be the Queen, be it be the President, he has met everybody. He has also met Dubai sheikhs, as well as he has had a great bet with them and has won several million of dollars, and that he has donated to charity. Here we have John. So John, it's all about how to get noticed for you, correct?
It is correct.
Can you tell us something about what is it all about, how to get noticed, and what are the things that motivate you to write about this book?
Well, when I was a child, my father was in the military. He was a West Point military officer. And most of my life, as my young youth life, he was commanding officer. So I was a target of most kids because they want to beat up the commanding officers to show how strong they are. We moved a lot. So when we lived in Illinois, we went on a trip and we went to California. And we went to Disneyland in 1956. Disneyland had just opened up in California, and all I wanted was a Mickey Mouse watch. I wanted that watch more than anything. Well, shortly after that, we moved to France, and I never got my watch. So Christmas came, and my brother opened his Christmas present, and he had the Mickey Mouse watch.
Oh.
I opened my Christmas present, and I had a Cinderella watch. And I looked at my mother, I said, Cinderella watch? She said there was only 2 watches in the country, in France, at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, I was ashamed that I had a Cinderella watch. But then I realized I was ashamed of myself because my mother had gone so much effort to get me a watch that all she could find was Cinderella. So I was ashamed of myself, not of the watch. And one day, I used to wear it around the house. And one day, I went to school and I forgot to take the watch off. And a little girl that was on the bus, my age, came up to me and she said, "Oh, you're wearing a Cinderella watch. Can I wear it?" And we joked around. She said, "I'll give you a kiss if you let me wear your watch all day." Well, I said, "Oh," and I was in 4th grade. I said, "Okay." And that started to make me realize that a pink watch on a boy, especially in that era, most people thought it was gay. And which didn't bother me. I mean, I didn't care how people thought of me, just as long as I was known as being somebody that was honest and truthful.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned from the 4th grade that the value of how to be noticed was all in your mind and not in your spirit. So then we moved to Virginia. And while I was in France, I bought berets, which is typical of a little kid in France to wear a beret to school. Well, in Virginia in 1957, 58, people would look at you like you're some kind of weirdo, and kids used to beat me up.
Oh.
So I was bullied a lot, and being bullied, I would go down certain hallways and kids would come up from behind me and hit me and say, "What are you?" and pull off my hat. And when I bend down, pick it up, they would kick me. And I realized that I would have to choose my hallways and my time to walk down the different places. Well, at that time period, I did not realize what a blessing it was. Because later in life, I realized when I was in a dangerous place, I was always able to make sure of the environment I was walking in was safe and where were the exits, because I was bullied as a kid.
Right.
And this taught me a lot. I mean, a great deal. It was a blessing in disguise. And then what? And then, I mean, I've been in bad situations where I was in Karachi in 2002. I was going to the U.S. consulate.
Okay.
And when I was going to the U.S. consulate, Karachi has a population of, I think, 15 million people. And and if you know Karachi, there's mopeds everywhere, little motorbikes.
Right.
That's more as people walking as motorbikes.
Right.
So I noticed a strange sound where a motorbike just stopped. And when I heard that moped stop, I just dove for the concrete. And right next to me was 3 people that got killed.
Oh my God.
And their bodies were next to me, and I got up, and it was all because I noticed that one weird sound. But that was from my childhood that I learned this, that if you hear something different, be aware.
Correct. I think it was mostly from the teachings of your father, I believe, right?
Yes.
First of all, I like to, thank you for the service that you have provided for your country. And I would like you to also, make us aware that how difficult or how good is it to, grow up in a military background family.
Military background, people don't realize if you're what we call an army brat, being a child from parents in the service. People don't realize you have no friends, you have no possessions, you have no unity in your life, because you're moving I moved 7 times, and I went to 11 different schools.
Oh my God.
So when you go to school, as soon as you go to a new school, you're not going to have friends for long because you're going to be moving.
Right.
When you have presents and stuff at home, it's limited, because when you move, you can only take so much.
Correct.
So people don't realize that about military kids, that you're very limited. You're even your relatives. We never saw relatives because we would be in Hawaii one year, France another year, Virginia, and we just move around, and your relatives are all over the country as well.
Right.
So you learn basically to be happy with yourself, and to be noticed is a way. When you go to a new environment, you can choose your ways.
Right.
You can choose either to be noticed or to be not noticed.
Right.
But you learn to control that very quickly, because when you go into a new school, you don't want the bullies to notice you.
Right.
But you do want the other soft, kind people to notice you.
Right. Right. But John, as we have understood that you have had an experience of traveling to various places in the world that not everybody gets an opportunity to, right? And we have been talking a lot about how to get noticed. So is this a skill that can be learned, or is this something that you have to be born with it? How does it work?
I think I can teach anybody to be noticed.
Oh.
I think it's understanding the restraints of society. And when I go into a grocery store and I look at people, and I live in Florida, so everybody wears t-shirts and shorts. You go to a grocery store and half the people have t-shirts on that have either Mickey Mouse or University of Central Florida, which is a school here. And you wonder, they're not going to be noticed for anything other than they have been to Disneyland or Disney World, or they are graduate of the university. If you're a graduate of the university and you move on, why are you still wearing your university t-shirt? I mean, you're living in your past, and I say live in your future, and when you wear a t-shirt, it's a billboard. It states what you believe in and what you want. If I have a university t-shirt on, it states that, oh, my college days were my best day. I partied, I enjoy it, my friends and everything. So you're living in your past. There's a place I went to called Iona.
Okay.
Iona is in Scotland.
All right.
And it's the most religious island, I think, in the world. There's 60 different kings buried on this island. And there's 3 saints buried on the island. So when I wear a t-shirt that says Iona on it, people ask us, where's Iona? And you say, oh, it's in Scotland. And then they say, you open up a conversation about Scotland, about travel, and then you bring out, it's the most religious island basically in the world, and you say, oh, there's 60 different kings, and they say, how is 60 kings buried on one little island? And the island is only 3 square miles.
Yeah.
And I was started off with saying, well, Saint Colombo went to the island from Ireland in 567 to bring Christianity to Scotland. So all of a sudden, it starts telling people, I'm a Christian. And it doesn't matter what your religious is, but it tells you that I do believe in a superpower. It begins to tell people I'm adventurous because I travel to exotic places that are difficult to get to. Because Iona is difficult. You have to go to the island of Mull by ferry, then you go down single track roads, then you get to another ferry, and Iona has no cars on it, so you have to walk everywhere. So it's a challenge to get to there. But when I go to a grocery store and someone says, oh, Iona, or they'll say, oh, University of Central Florida, your college days or your adventurous days, what do you want to be known for?
Understood.
And then there's a place called, like, if you're still in Scotland, there's another place called Findhorn.
Okay.
Findhorn is the only place in the world that has a UFO landing strip.
Okay. Okay, so the famous photo of the UFO that rotates around the world is from that Findhorn?
Excuse me?
The famous photo of the UFO landing on the Earth section is from Findhorn?
No. It's not that one. But Findhorn is a United Nations sanctioned place.
Okay.
And there is a commune that started back in the 50s. And people go down, they talk to their plants.
Okay.
And plants are known to grow 3 times to 5 times bigger there than anywhere else in the world.
Okay.
Because they talk to them. They believe there's power in the plants and that the nourishment they give you is emphasized by you conversing with them on their growth, on their tour.
Okay. That's really interesting, and I never knew that wearing a piece of clothing can resemble make aware people that what exactly you are thinking, if you're holding yourself towards the past or you're thinking towards the future. So this is again a new concept that you have introduced me to, and I'm sure that I'm going to focus on what I'm going to wear from tomorrow itself. And I'm also going to try to work on how I am getting noticed and what people are thinking about me through the piece of clothing that I'm going to wear. Amazing.
Well, I also tell people the most important time to dress your best is when you go to bed.
Okay.
And people always look at me strangely. And I tell them, I said, my wife and I spend as much money on our pajamas as we do on our clothes. And we always take showers before we go to bed because the cleanest time you want to be is next to the one you love.
Right.
Why do you get up in the morning, take shower, and look the best for other people when you don't look the best for your own wife? So, to be noticed by your partner in love and your own kids, you should take the extra energy to think about it. Instead of just putting on an old beat up t-shirt and get in bed. And if you wake up and you see a wife or a partner or even your kids looking beautiful in the morning, it makes the day so much brighter.
Right. Right. Makes sense. Makes sense. And John, I remember when we were having a conversation over the call. So you told me that you got an opportunity to cross war zones. You have faced a lot of bombings, and you have traveled towards these Sahara deserts as well as the Bordens. So can you tell the viewers something about that story?
Well, I was in, let me see, it must have been, I've been to Colombia in I think it was 84, 85.
Okay.
And I went down there. Let me back up. I was a student. I wasn't a student. I was already graduated. I was with my professor.
So many stories are getting confused, huh?
I was with my professor of sculpture and the head of the art department, all having dinner. And this is 15 years after I graduated,
Okay.
which is like 1985, somewhere in that area. And we're sitting around, we're in Orlando, Florida. Disney World has opened up. And when I was a student, we all said, oh, Disney's coming to Orlando. We're going to make a fortune in the art world. We're going to be so famous and rich in no time.
Mm-hmm.
Disney came and nothing happened. And sure, it made Orlando famous, but it didn't do anything for the art world. And it still was really bad for the art world here. So I was talking to my old professors, and we're having dinner because I hadn't seen them. And we're joking, and I said, who has money in this world right now that spends it? And they said, oh, the drug dealers in Colombia has money. And I said, you're right. I'll go to the drug dealers. Go to the source. Don't go to the well. And so I flew without knowing anybody to Bogota.
Okay.
And just kind of met people. And before I knew it, I was asked to do a radio program, an interview. And that led one thing to another. And before I knew it, Escobar had said that he would like to meet me.
Okay.
And when you look at the Renaissance period in Italy, we always think of the Medici family of the Renaissance that backed everything, that
Right.
paid for all the major pieces of artwork.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when we look at Colombia, we never think of anybody having wealth and sharing it. Well, Escobar built 5,000 houses and gave them away.
Wow.
And people don't realize that he was a humanitarian as much as he was a drug dealer.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually wanted to buy some of my artwork.
Oh, wow.
So I went back and I did some deals, and I came back to America, and then the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency in this country, invited me over for a conversation, asked me what I did, who I met. And I told them it was all legitimate. I didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
But they started tapping my phone and watching me to make sure I didn't do anything. So I didn't really go back until 92.
Okay.
And 92, I went back, and Escobar was arrested, I think, in 85, right after I left. And then he was in jail. Then he got out when I went back. And I was at a party for Miss Colombia. She won the model contest. And I was at a party celebrating her winning.
Mm-hmm.
And someone mentioned Dubai. And this is 92. And I said, wow, seems like a frontier land that I would like to go to. They said in 92, you won't believe what Dubai will be doing in the future. And we look now, we can see it. But so I flew to Dubai, and again, I was invited to a party that the ruler was at. And before I knew it, he was inviting me to all the VIP parties. And fortunately, I have this, I'm a Fulbright scholar. And because I'm a Fulbright scholar, it gives me a lot of clout of people think, oh, he's smart.
Right.
Till they meet me. Then they know I'm not. But people think I'm smart. And I have 5 college degrees.
Wow.
So people always think that I'm smarter than I really am. And before I knew it,
You are. I got to understand that by the last time we had a conversation, and the type of experiences and the type of statements you shared, it really made me realize that I have a lot of things to learn in life right now.
well, I do too. So one thing led to another, and then because I'm in the arts,
Right.
I was elected to the board of directors for the Dubai International Arts Center.
Wow.
And Dubai International Arts Center was a British center. And well, of course you'll know, because wherever the British flag was, they think they own the place forever.
Right. Exactly.
And that they think that they're unique and they should be limited and given an extra privilege. Well,
Exactly.
I'm in Dubai, and the British Dubai International Arts Center, which is all British members, I said, they were doing their annual show. I said, let's invite the locals. And they said, no, we don't invite the locals. It's our art center. I said, but you were in their country. And one thing led to another. I finally said, well, let me do an art show and use your name, and I'll put it all together.
Right.
And they said, okay. And they thought it was going to be a failure. I mean, they thought, here, a stupid American member of a British club will not want any Arab to be a member. So I went to the Emirates Fine Art Society, and I started lecturing to them about art.
Okay.
And I was asking for nothing in return. I was trying to give them something. And that they fought me at first. And eventually, I went to the the Bank of Dubai. And I said, I'm putting together an art show. And the largest amount of money ever given in Dubai, if I recall correctly, was like $1,000.
Wow.
And for prize money. And I said, I like $50,000. And they look at me, that's $50,000, shaking their heads. I said, but look at the publicity I'll get you. And I started looking at numbers, and they finally agreed. Well, once I got that, the art center got involved, and they said, oh, wait a minute. You're doing something no one else has done. You got the highest amount of money anybody ever given away in Dubai.
Right.
So the local artists became my friends very quickly. And when we did the opening of the art show, the most famous artist in that part of the Middle East, Abdul Qadir Reyes, came to the opening, and everybody stopped and they said, oh, Abdul Qadir Reyes is here. Be careful. He's a really religious Muslim. Can't say anything. You gotta be careful. He has a long beard. You don't know what he does. So he came in, and we were talking, and he spoke broken English. And I was with a girl who was Arabic, and she said, she translated a lot, and we went back and forth. Well, it turned out he invited me to his house afterwards.
Nice.
And he said, look at my art collection, and I did. He said, what do you think? I said, well, I think this is bad, this is good, this is bad, this is good. And when I said this is bad, I gave him the reason. And the reason would be like, the canvas is too small. Well, you don't realize it until you've been in that part of the world at that period of time. There was no canvas bigger. So the solution was to get them bigger canvases. And knowing what Gauguin has done and everybody else from the Impressionist period, I told them ways to do it. I said, you go down to the sailboat factory, you get sail, you get some gesso, you get some paint, you can make your own gesso, and before you know it, you can have a large canvas. And he was so thankful. I said, you don't need to get stuff outside of the country. You can do it with raw materials. And I said, look at Van Gogh. I mean, everyone has used everything they can. And when I left, he gave me a painting worth like $30,000.
Oh.
He said, no one has walked into my house and been honest with me. They all tell me how great I am, but no one gives me constructive criticism.
Amazing.
And he said, you're the first person that has come in and told me how to improve.
Amazing. Amazing.
So that opened a lot of avenues and all of a sudden, all the local Arabs, I was kind of a spokesperson for them.
Oh, wow. That's an amazing story that you just shared. John, I want to understand that you have met a lot of leaders, you have taught a lot of leaders about art, right? But what do you think that apart from just being honest with them, what is that one thing that they look in a person that really makes them fond of that person?
Well, I can say for myself, I can go to any environment and throughout my life, I've been in really bad, rough neighborhoods in New York and Los Angeles, Karachi, Bombay. I mean, I've been into bad neighborhoods where Caucasian white people like me would not go to.
Right.
But I walk without fear.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that if you present fear, then you're going to be in trouble. If you walk without fear and you're with an open heart, then you have the gates open.
Amazing.
And if I had to say to somebody, how do I get, if someone asks me, how did you get invited to these different places? How did you get through those doors? My answer would be that I walk with open arms. When I go, I tell
And 5 degrees of colleges, that's a different story.
Well, no, because the smartest person I've ever met, I lived in Tunisia in the late 80s for 1 year. I lived in Sousse. And when I got to Tunisia, you go and you see 50 kids come up to you asking for money.
Mm-hmm.
And in being Sousse, I watched the kids over and over again. I would give them a few coins here and there. But this one little boy, people would go up to him. Instead of him going up to the tourists, the tourists came up to him. He wore something very cute, always a nice little hat and a cute little shirt. And he spoke like 5 different languages fluently. And he could converse with another 5 languages to greet you. And I started talking to the little boy, and I gave him $1 instead of a coin.
Mm-hmm.
And because I was there for 1 year, I watch him all the time. And I realized he brought people to him instead of him going to people came to him. And why was it? He dressed to be noticed.
Right.
He understood the language of the streets. And he could speak to a Japanese, he could speak to a German. Just enough to say, hi, how are you? Not give me.
Right.
And it was all the dialogue. And he was like 6 years old. I have a picture of him. I'll send to you. But he's like 6 years old. And my final day I was in Tunisia. And this is in the late 80s. And my final day I said, come to dinner with me. So we went to a fancy restaurant, and they didn't want to let him in. And I said, I've been here for 1 year. I've eaten in your restaurant many times, and they didn't know I was leaving. I said, I'll never come back if you don't let me come in with this little boy. And they said, okay. So they let him in, and I had this conversation with this boy for over an hour.
Wow.
And we just talked about life in Tunisia and his hopes and everything. And it was so brilliant. When I left, I gave him $100.
Wow.
And he looked at me and he said, $100? Mm-hmm. I looked at him and said, that's the cheapest meal I've ever had. I said, for $100, you gave me more insight than all the rulers and movie stars I've ever met. For $100, I enjoy a meal with you more than anyone in my life. It's so cheap. You don't understand. I feel guilty just giving you $100. And he looked at me and he said, it's not about the money. And I had tears.
Oh my God. Oh my God. But that's my friend. That's the power of how to get noticed at the end of the day. Amazing.
And I've been with professors and notable people that are supposed to be extremely smart, and we talk around. They always ask me, "Who have you been impressed most with in your life?" I was like, "Oh, a 6-year-old kid on the street." They all pick that up.
And that's again a new story that you have to share with them.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. So, John, let's say if you met someone in the airport, right, and they are holding a book that is written by you. Hopefully, they are holding the same book that we are talking about. And what is that one page that you would want them to instantly read and would want to see the reaction live?
I probably would tell them the page where I tell you that when I go to the grocery store or shopping center, and I see a piece of litter on the ground, to pick it up and put it in the trash can. Because we're all keeper of this life.
Right.
And if we don't pick up after other people that are too lazy, then to walk past it and leave it on the ground, then you're making a mistake because you're being part of them instead of making a change. And that change is the most important thing, is that if I could convince people to take a little bit of effort to not judge, but be part of the solution, then I would feel like I've done something great.
Amazing. That's a really nice takeaway that I think most of us out there who's going to listen to this podcast are going to take it. And I also completely agree with you that if we do not contribute in keeping the earth cleaner, it will only get dirtier day by day.
Yes.
Right? Amazing. So, John, it was amazing connecting with you, and I hope that your book is launched pretty soon. Do you have your dates out yet?
Not yet, but it'll be coming.
Okay, amazing, amazing. So I'm sure that a lot of readers like me will be waiting for your book, and let's see if we can get the hands off before it gets sold off from that shelf very quickly.
Thank you.
Amazing. So, John, before logging off or saying anything, last few words to the viewers, do you have anything else to say about us or the viewers out there?
Well, I think in our society today, we have so many people that are playing games, and they look at all the violence. You look at all the movies. There's very little that is out there that shows positive feedback. What you're doing, and I enjoy the questions you asked me, which is brilliant, but what you're doing is you're showing society that there are new avenues that we can explore because of the mass media we have today that we didn't have 20 years ago. You can reach hundreds, if not millions of people in a heartbeat. And you can be the catalyst that help change the world, showing the positivity. By interviewing people that you interview brings a lot of good hope to a lot of people that sometimes are desperate for something good.
That's really beautiful that you have just mentioned, and I feel emotional now, and let's see if we can get more people like you on our podcast, and I'm sure that the viewers are going to love hearing the stories and the life learnings that you have taught us today. And let's see if we can get the hands on your books pretty soon. Can we expect it by this year?
I hope so. Yes, sir.
Amazing, amazing. Great, John.